Welcome to Out of the Office Investigation into Personal Health Actualization. This time we're discussing the Akkermansia bacteria role in overall personal health. I'm Ramsey, and with me is my colleague Puck.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Today, we're exploring a specific bacterium it's generating an incredible amount of excitement in the health world. It's called Akkermansia muciniphila. But, with any emerging science, it's our job to look at what's really proven versus what's still, let's say, speculative.
Absolutely, Puck, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to examine how this one tiny microorganism could be a major player in, well, pretty much everything from our metabolism to our mental state. It is a truly fascinating story that starts deep inside our gut.
So, here's the plan for today. We're going to start by meeting this microbe, really understanding its role as what we're calling the gut's gatekeeper. Then we'll get into the hard data on how it seems to fight inflammation and, this is a big one, helps master our metabolism.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll explore some of the most fascinating connections. I'm talking about the gut-brain axis, its really surprising role as an ally in cancer therapy, and finally, Puck, the part everyone wants to know, the practical stuff. How do we actually nourish this thing in our own body?
All right, first up, the gut's gatekeeper. It's time to get formally introduced to the star of our show today.
This is really where it all begins. We're talking about the lining of the gut, a place that is just absolutely fundamental to our overall health.
So as you can see here, Akkermansia muciniphila makes its home right in the mucus lining of our intestines. And get this, it actually eats mucin, which is the main protein that makes up that mucus layer. You can almost think of it as a friendly gatekeeper, constantly tending to the protective wall of our gut by living in it and in turn reinforcing it.
But, there's a big catch here, Ramsey, and it's that word anaerobe. That is a really key detail. It means it can't survive in an environment with oxygen. So that must make it incredibly difficult to cultivate and turn into some kind of stable health supplement that people can actually take. I mean, how do you get it from the lab to a person if oxygen kills it?
That is an excellent point, Puck, and that's exactly where the science gets really clever. The solution they came up with is pasteurization. It's amazing. By gently heating the bacteria, it becomes inactivated, but it remains structurally intact and, this is the most important part, completely stable.
Okay, but hold on. I think the big question on everyone's mind would be, doesn't inactivating it, heating it up, basically kill all of its beneficial properties?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But that's the crucial part, and honestly the most surprising finding from the research. Studies are showing that this pasteurized form is not only still effective, but in some cases it's even more effective than the live version. The heat treatment seems to make certain beneficial proteins on the bacterium's outer membrane, like one called AMUC 1100, more accessible to our body's receptors. So you end up getting all the benefits without the impossible challenge of trying to keep it alive.
Okay, let's move on and see how this all connects to fighting inflammation, which is at the root of so many health issues.
This is where that gatekeeper role you just mentioned really comes into sharp focus. A strong, intact gut barrier is truly our first line of defense against a whole host of problems.
This chart, wow, it really just lays it all out, doesn't it? In healthy individuals, you see Akkermansia levels are high, they're robust. But just look at that dramatic drop-off in patients with inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. The levels are consistently and significantly lower. It's a striking difference.
It is. But it's a classic correlation, Ramsey, and it immediately raises that age-old chicken or egg question. Does having a low level of Akkermansia actually contribute to causing the disease? Or does the inflammation from the disease itself create a hostile environment where Akkermansia just can't survive?
That is the critical question. And thankfully, the animal studies give us a really powerful clue. The source material points to studies where mice that were specifically bred to have colitis were then supplemented with Akkermansia, or in some cases, just its key protein, that AMUC 1100. And the result? Their inflammation and the infiltration of immune cells into the colon were significantly reduced. This strongly suggests it plays a direct protective role. By reinforcing that gut barrier, it helps prevent what we call leaky gut and the subsequent inflammation that is so central to these diseases.
Now we're getting into one of the most exciting areas of this research, and one that has just profound implications for public health: mastering your metabolism. The link between this one single microbe and our overall metabolic health is frankly stunning.
Yeah, this is where the research really expands beyond just gut-specific issues and moves into systemic health. We're talking about things that affect millions of people, like our weight, our blood sugar control, and even the health of our liver.
Okay, let's look at the first human proof of concept trial, because this is where the rubber really meets the road. In just 3 months, overweight subjects with insulin resistance who took pasteurized Akkermansia saw their insulin sensitivity improve by about 30% compared to the placebo group. 30%.
Wow. A 30% improvement is a genuinely significant clinical result, Ramsey. I mean, just for context, that's the kind of improvement you might hope to see with certain powerful pharmaceutical interventions. To see that from a single bacterial supplement is, well, it's incredibly impressive.
And the benefits just kept coming, Puck. It wasn't just insulin sensitivity. That same group saw reductions in their total cholesterol and lower markers for liver inflammation. You know, those enzymes like AST and ALT. They even saw a slight weight reduction of about 5 pounds on average, without any other major lifestyle changes being required.
And if you look at the mechanisms here, you can see how it all connects. It seems to start with enhancing that gut barrier we talked about. That reduces something called endotoxemia, which is basically just toxins leaking from the gut into the bloodstream, which in turn lowers that systemic low-grade inflammation, which then leads to better metabolic function across the board, from how our bodies handle sugar to how our liver processes fats. It's really a beautiful cascade of positive effects, and it all seems to start from just strengthening that gut lining.
You're listening to The Out of the Office with research by author Paul Bueller.
And this is so critical, understanding the Akkermansia bacteria role in overall personal health and how to make healthy daily choices for diet, behaviors, and medical care is absolutely critical to our physical and mental health. And even recovery from conditions like hypertension. You know, that condition is so closely linked to the kind of metabolic dysfunction we've been discussing.
And you know, Ramsey, that leads us perfectly into our next section. Because the connection goes way beyond just physical metabolism. The gut is often called our second brain for a very good reason. So let's explore that powerful link to our mental and neurological health through the gut-brain axis.
So this brings us to a crucial question, Puck. We've seen the incredible physical benefits, but how can Akkermansia support both mental and physical health? More to the point, can the Akkermansia bacteria role in overall personal health actually improve our mental health while supporting physical optimum performance?
It's a huge question, and I want to be clear, the research in humans is still in its early days, but the preliminary data from animal models suggest the answer is a pretty resounding yes. In these studies, mice that were supplemented with Akkermansia showed reduced depressive-like behaviors. They had lower levels of the stress hormone corticosterone, and they had an increase in key brain chemicals like dopamine and something called BDNF, which is like a miracle grow for your brain cells. It's vital for their health.
Right, and the evidence in other neurological areas also seems to point towards a protective role, at least in these animal models. For devastating conditions like Alzheimer's and ALS, we see that lower levels of Akkermansia are found in mouse models, and when they supplement it back in, function can actually improve.
Okay, now this is where we really need to pump the brakes and be cautious because the picture gets very complicated. The source material itself highlights that for Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis and human studies, patients often show an increase in Akkermansia. This seems completely contradictory to everything else we've just said, right?
It absolutely does on the surface, but researchers have a few interesting theories. One is that this could be a beneficial compensatory response by the body. It's trying to ramp up production of this helpful microbe to fight the disease process.
Or it could just be an effective medication or other disease-related factors, like the slowed gut transit time that's so common in Parkinson's. The crucial point here is that while the connection between the gut and the brain is powerful and it's undeniable, we don't yet understand the precise mechanism in every single disease. It's definitely not a simple one-size-fits-all story.
All right, next we're going to look at a truly unexpected role for our microbe, and one of the most cutting-edge areas of this research, Akkermansia as an ally in cancer therapy. This is a field that's just exploding with interest right now. The whole idea of oncomicrobiotics, which is basically how our microbiome can influence cancer and the effectiveness of its treatments. It turns out that the state of your gut can dramatically influence how effective these powerful cancer treatments called immunotherapies are. Specifically, studies have found that cancer patients with higher levels of Akkermansia in their gut respond significantly better to a type of immunotherapy known as an anti-PD-1 checkpoint inhibitor.
So as that first step, the bacterium is essentially helping to prime the immune system. It's getting it ready for a fight and making it more responsive to the therapy.
Exactly, and that priming seems to make the therapy more effective at helping the immune system recognize and attack tumor cells. It appears to do this by increasing the mobilization of the right kind of immune cells, specifically these CD4+ T cells, and actually helping them get into the tumor microenvironment to do their job.
You're listening to The Out of the Office with research by author Paul Bueller.
And we see direct evidence in mouse models of colorectal cancer that's really compelling. It shows that supplementation can directly inhibit tumor growth and stimulate that anti-tumor immune response.
It is remarkable. I completely agree. However, we should be really clear here that, as the source itself points out, most of these studies are on animals, or they involve transplanting fecal matter from human responders into mice. It's incredibly promising, but it is not yet a standard human treatment protocol. It's more of a signpost for where future research needs to go.
And you're absolutely right to add that context, Puck. But it all connects back to a central theme, doesn't it? This research into the Akkermansia bacteria role in overall personal health really suggests our body's health is deeply, deeply connected to our diet and nutrition. A healthy, well-functioning gut truly primes us for success everywhere else.
So, Puck, this brings us to the most practical and important question of all for our listeners. What are the key elements for the Akkermansia bacteria role in overall personal health? I mean, how do we feed this beneficial microbe and encourage it to actually thrive inside of us?
It's the question everyone wants an answer to, right? If this little bug is so important, how do we get more of it? Let's get into the specifics of what the research says about our diet.
Well, the answer really seems to lie in what we eat. Akkermansia appears to thrive on very specific compounds, particularly a class of antioxidants called polyphenols.
Right, those are the compounds that give foods like Concord grapes, pomegranates, cranberries, and all those dark berries their rich, beautiful colors.
So if your plate is colorful, that's a really good sign. Exactly. And it also flourishes with certain types of prebiotic fibers. The source specifically mentions inulin, which you find in things like chicory root, onions, and garlic, and also the specific kind of fiber that's found in crude wheat bran.
The unifying theme here is crystal clear, isn't it? A diverse, plant-rich diet that's full of color and lots of different types of fiber is the single best way to keep your internal gatekeeper happy and very well fed.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today, from the gut lining all the way to the brain and beyond. Let's try and bring it all together with the most important key takeaways.
Yeah, it's time to synthesize what we've learned about this mighty microbe and what it really truly means for our health.
So when you look at the whole picture, from being a simple gatekeeper of the gut lining to a powerful modulator of our metabolism, our immune system, and even our brain, Akkermansia is truly a cornerstone of health.
I think the evidence is most compelling and most established in the area of metabolic health. The key mechanism, the common thread that runs through everything we've talked about, seems to be its incredible ability to maintain and strengthen that gut barrier. And by doing that, it reduces the systemic low-grade inflammation that we now know drives so many chronic diseases.
Exactly. This research really reinforces that the Akkermansia bacteria role in overall personal health aligns our bodies to a healthy environment for both mental and physical success. It's just so clear that Akkermansia bacteria can be linked to an overall healthy body.
And this research really broadens our whole perspective on health. The Akkermansia bacteria role in overall personal health suggests our body's health is connected to everything: our diet, our actions, our nutrition, sunlight, fresh air, our personal energy, and even our clarity routine of aligning our actions, words, and thoughts. It's a truly holistic picture of well-being.
I absolutely agree with that holistic view, Ramsey. And while we certainly await more large-scale human trials for specific applications in neurology and oncology, the overall message is clear and it's actionable today. Nurturing our gut microbiome is one of the most powerful things we can do for our long-term well-being.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for all of you listening. Is it possible that the future of personalized medicine is already living inside each and every one of us? For Out of the Office, I'm Ramsey.
And I'm Puck. Thanks for listening.